Welcome to King 5. I'm Greg Copeland. This is The Week, a look at what made headlines in our region, along with your weekend forecast. Washington State now has an income tax on the state's wealthiest residents. Governor Ferguson signed the so-called millionaires tax into law this week. But even as supporters celebrate, opponents are moving quickly, preparing legal challenges and a push to let voters have the final say. Olympia Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson breaks down what this means and what happens next.
Conservative organizations already have plans to challenge this new tax in the courtroom and potentially at the ballot box. But supporters say they're confident it will withstand all challenges because it's exactly what the state needs.
This is truly a historic step forward.
Governor Bob Ferguson says the new income tax will expand the state's tax credit program for single parents.
I was able to buy school supplies and cover things that needed to feel prepared and supported. Those moments mattered and helped create a stable home for me and my family.
It'll cut taxes for owners of small businesses, from bookstores to restaurants.
Anyone who's operated and owned a restaurant know that we survive on slim margins. But with this millionaires tax, I have hope.
Sales taxes on diapers and hygiene products will go away. Child care subsidies will increase, and every public K-12 student will get free breakfast and lunch at school.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We did it, everybody.
Ferguson and fellow Democrats say for too long the state's poorest have paid the most in taxes.
The millionaires tax represents hope and change for people in communities like mine and across the state.
I think we saw a really nice pep rally today, but unfortunately it's a pep rally in support of an unconstitutional tax that's going to face a challenge in the courts.
The conservative Citizen Action Defense Fund is working with former Washington Attorney General Rob McKenna to challenge the constitutionality of the law in court within a few days. They argue the new law violates a near 100-year-old court ruling prohibiting income taxes in Washington state, and opponents fear the tax won't only impact millionaires.
This is something that they're going to apply statewide, and I think this is not about, as one of the speakers said, hope and change. There's a lot of fear about this tax that's justified based on how the legislature has handled taxes in the past.
Along with the court challenge, the Let's Go Washington organization is trying to have voters have the final say on the income tax on higher earners. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
Seattle police say at least 75,000 people showed up last Saturday for the rally at Capitol Hill's Cal Anderson Park. King 5 was there as they marched through downtown Seattle. King 5's Madeline Carter has more.
To make history, to be part of the largest protest in the country's history.
Thousands showed up with signs.
Where else would you want to be right now?
Chants.
1, 2, 3, 4. Fascists knocking at the door.
Costumes.
I'm Christy Noem.
And this message.
No kings! No kings!
Power belongs to the people.
It's a way to really translate our anger and confusion into something that's positive, to love our neighbors and serve them well.
Saturday's No Kings protest brought a sea of people from all backgrounds to Capitol Hill's Cal Anderson Park. From there, they marched to Seattle Center. Along the way, protesting everything from the Trump administration to immigration enforcement and the war with Iran.
What's this world coming to?
This March 28th rally remained peaceful.
We all are coming from a place where it's love, not hate, and that we are united in this effort. So it's really cool to see all walks of life come together for that.
And it comes as lawmakers prepare for a Senate vote to end the partial government shutdown. The demonstrations mark the third major national day of action in the No Kings movement, which organizers say has grown steadily since it first drew more than 5 million people last June.
And that just showed me how many people are affected by the choices of this current person in office.
For protesters here in Seattle, it's clear this movement isn't slowing down anytime soon.
If we don't do something, we're not going to stop anything.
Well, soccer fans, get ready. There's less than 70 days to go until the FIFA World Cup comes to Seattle. The King County executive is ready to spend millions to keep fans safe. King 5's Madeline Carter again explains what that could look like.
As World Cup time draws closer, these streets will be at their busiest.
This is going to be a great time.
And King County's safety apparatus
for Seattle and for the world
will come alive. When it does, all eyes will be on Seattle.
Of course, there are outside threats.
It's Brendan McCluskey's job to oversee
the current global situation.
June's massive public safety operation.
We want to make sure if something does happen, we're just ready to go.
And inside this emergency operations center in Renton, that response will be coordinated in real time.
So the room will be filled probably with about 80 or 90 people.
From here, police, fire, and health teams will monitor matches live, ready to respond at a moment's notice, just like they did during the pandemic, the 2024 bomb cyclone, and December's flooding. And to support that effort, the county executive has proposed $25 million for World Cup safety.
Most of it will likely be used for staff overtime and extra staff that need to be brought in.
Brendan says part of that funding would also go toward translating emergency information into multiple languages, so fans, no matter where they're coming from, can understand critical safety details. And when it comes to handling crowds this big, officials are looking to a proven playbook, the Seahawks Super Bowl victory parade, a moment that's now become a model for doing this right. Because in the end, success comes down to something simple: making sure soccer fans can fill these streets and get home safely.
We hope things go smoothly and that there aren't any actual emergencies going on during that event.
Convenience store penny trays could soon be a thing of the past. The federal government stopped minting pennies last year, but Congress didn't do anything to guide businesses on how to go penniless. Drew Mickelson once more now to explain how the state came up with guidelines.
Lawmakers have been accused of nickel and diming businesses before, but in this case, legislators say it was the business owners who came here to the Capitol trying to find ways to deal with their penny-pinching customers. Olympia's last word books,
I want to say probably around the 80-90% used,
has more literature.
It's not a whole lot, so we're coming down to it.
Than pennies.
The stash. We are running low on pennies, so I've been working with the take a penny, leave a penny to cultivate some more.
The U.S. Mint stopped producing pennies last November. It was costing almost 4 cents to make one of the coins. Billions of pennies are still out there, but not always at the bank for business owners like Jeremy Cooper, who still makes change.
I really wish just some plan set in motion prior to the ending of the pennies would have been nice.
When you stop minting a currency, there's a lot of impacts, and there's a lot of impacts to states, there's a lot of impacts to local government, to businesses.
State Representative April Berg sponsored a bill signed by Governor Bob Ferguson Monday, setting rounding guidelines for businesses that want to eliminate pennies. It's pretty common sense. Charges ending with 1 or 2 cents or 6 or 7 cents get rounded down to the nearest nickel or dime. 3, 4, 8, or 9 cent charges are rounded up.
Most of the pennies we get are in the fountain over there, I'd say.
At Well 80 Brewhouse, only about 5% of the customers use cash, but the owners are glad the state's placing guidelines to help everyone embrace the change.
I think we're already kind of down that road and people are sort of used to it. But when they can't get them, that might be a little odd.
These rounding rules are just options for businesses. If the owners still want to collect exact change, they can. And if a customer wants to pay with every penny they have, a business must accept their exact change. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon.
When we come back, Washington students get a taste of the final frontier with a special viewing of the first 21st century moonshot. But first, Perella Lewis breaks down your beautiful weekend forecast right after this.
Well, happy Easter weekend, everyone. It is going to be amazing, and we are going to be getting into the warmest days of the year so far. If you're wondering what we have to beat, just 62 degrees. That has been the warmest we have been all year, and that day was back on February 4th. And it's the only day, by the way, that we have been 60 degrees or warmer. So anything above 62 will officially be the warmest day of the year so far. And yes, March, at least at SeaTac never got above 58 degrees. That happened only twice, by the way. Every other day was actually a little bit cooler. We've got a lot of sunshine out there as we go into this weekend. It is going to be absolutely gorgeous to get out and enjoy. Here's something we're not going to see a whole lot of in the future. This is Snoqualmie Pass, but this is Summit West. Lots of folks out there enjoying some skiing this weekend. April 5th will be the final day that this part of Snoqualmie Pass will be open. I believe they're going to be waiting to see Alpental. So that's a TBA. Last we checked in with Snoqualmie Pass. But look at that. Lots of folks out enjoying a little bit of fresh snow. We did not get a ton of snow this week, but we did get a little bit. Snoqualmie Pass ended up getting about half an inch of brand new snow. So that's nice. Mount Baker, 4 inches of snow, and Stevens Pass, 5 inches of snowfall. So basically between 2 and 5 inches is what we received under that winter weather advisory earlier this week. So moving forward, we've got a lot of sunshine, sunny on Saturday. We'll see a few extra clouds on Easter Sunday, but it will be dry and it will be mild. What's interesting, not only the warmer than average trend that we are anticipating, but as we look further into next week, which we will do together here in a second, it's actually going to be very dry as well. April 1st came in, we received half an inch to an inch of rain, and since then, most of us haven't gotten a whole lot of anything, and it doesn't look like there's much on the way either. High pressure is going to be building in just to the southwest. That sinking air will keep little systems like what's coming through throughout the day Friday. That brought us a little bit of just a few sprinkles along the coast, but Saturday, Sunday, we will be under the influence of high pressure even into Monday, and that's going to make a huge difference in our sky conditions. So if you're heading out to the Tulip Festival, well, if you're heading to the north, look at that, 60 degrees, mostly sunny Saturday, 62 with sun breaks on Sunday. Monday will be pretty nice as well. Partly cloudy skies, especially early on. We'll start to see a few extra clouds Monday, late afternoon and evening, but mid 60s, that is not too bad. It's going to be a perfect weekend to get out and about. Maybe you're sticking around the Seattle area. We're going to end up a little bit warmer on Sunday and Monday, a little bit more concrete and pavement. So that helps us to stay a bit warmer. And on top of that, we won't be contending with a lot of those clouds coming in earlier in the day. So 66 degrees, partly sunny skies on Easter Sunday. So many community centers are having free Easter egg hunts on Saturday. So maybe you want to get out and enjoy that. Maybe you're heading to church or just enjoying some cycling, some walking, some running. These are going to be great days to get out and about. We'll be a little bit breezy on Saturday, by the way, but calmer winds on Easter Sunday. What's next? What's after all of this? Well, as we look ahead, our weather trend is absolutely warmer than average. So we're seeing that trend already kicking into gear this weekend and early next week, but we will continue to see us kind of going above the seasonal average. And where most of the United States is going to be wetter than average as we go into the first full week of April, our area, look at what's happening. Drier than average, and especially on the coast. Now, the coast is okay. We could use some dry time, and even Puget Sound, we are okay. We ended March, one of the wettest Marches on record. We have been pretty wet this whole year, so a little bit of dry time is not the worst thing. Gives our soils time to dry out, which is good news, and it helps our water to warm up. All of this heat, all of these warmer than average temperatures. You know, I was looking at boating season is less than a month away. So our water temperature is not bad, about 48 degrees at Lake Washington. But just thinking about a month from now with all of these warm temperatures, if we're able to hold them intact, even for the next 2 weeks, that's going to make a huge difference. So our water temperatures will be nice and ready for boating season. How about that? You're heading to the Cascade Mountains this weekend. Well, you've got 58 degrees on Saturday, 61 on Sunday, and not a lot of rainfall in the forecast. That is the good thing. So here we go. Sunday, Monday, a few extra clouds at times, but more sunshine than anything. Tuesday, we get brushed with a little disturbance that'll give us a few sprinkles, but cool us back down into the 50s. But if you're looking for rain next week, we're just not seeing a whole lot of that. So just keep that in mind. In fact, maybe not until next weekend. We shall see. Here you go. Here is your forecast, looking great through the weekend, near 70 on Monday, and then back into the 50s, but still basically dry next week.
All right, welcome back to the week. Hundreds of immigration detainees are being moved through Seattle, often before their families can find them. A King 5 investigation found Boeing Field has become a key hub with flights happening every few days. King 5 immigration reporter Sharon Yu shows us why lawyers say it's getting harder to step in before it's too late.
2 weeks ago, Governor Bob Ferguson signed the face mask ban into law, but legal experts say holding federal agents to that law might be complicated. A sign near Aurora and 163rd and Shoreline has stood for 6 weeks. It reads, "Dad abducted from his 2-year-old at this spot." On January 25th, video captured the aftermath of an ICE arrest and a woman carrying a toddler out of a car. The toddler was left behind sitting alone in the back seat after federal agents arrested his father. The woman coming to the child's aid is restaurant owner Veronica Castaneda.
He's almost 3.
When ICE arrested Castaneda's head chef Ivan Guzman, he was on his way to drop his baby off at daycare. He called his boss for help. Less than a week later, the federal government shipped Ivan out of the U.S.
I woke up in the middle of the night and I always think, why?
Records analyzed by King 5 showed the fast action ICE took with Ivan isn't unusual. Detainees are often moved quickly via charter flights out of Boeing Field. Records obtained by King show in 2025, more than 200 ICE-related flights arrived or departed the airport roughly every 2 days and saw a nearly 240% increase over the course of the year. The most common destinations from Boeing Field were Mesa, Arizona, with 32 flights, El Paso, Texas, with 15, and Victorville, California, with 13, all locations near major immigration detention facilities. In 2026, flights are coming and going at a faster pace, up 60% compared to last year. One of those 2026 flights transferred Ivan Guzman, the chef whom ICE took from his car, to El Paso, just 4 days after his arrest in Shoreline.
ICE in particular has thrown out, the Constitution has thrown out the laws that are on the books and said, challenge us.
Seattle Clemency Project civil rights attorney Jenny Pasquarella says rapid transfers like this make it harder for detainees to fight their cases. Attorneys need to file petitions aimed at stopping deportations in the state where the client is held.
Timing is of the essence in these cases, and you need to be able to file right away. But if there's no transparency about where your person is, you don't want to file a case and then have it be kicked out because it turns out the person's already, been sent to Texas or some other state.
Ivan has no criminal history. He was Veronica Castaneda's right-hand man at her restaurant El Cubano to go.
He was just trying to support his family, better life.
Veronica quickly worked to get Ivan an attorney. She started a GoFundMe, raising more than $40,000. 3 days after Ivan's arrest, an attorney agreed to help. It was too late.
By that time, Ivan was gone.
The next morning, the federal government moved Ivan to a detention facility in El Paso, Texas. Shortly after, just 6 days after his arrest in Shoreline, he was deported to Nogales, Mexico.
They didn't give us a chance for anything.
Many immigration attorneys have turned to a centuries-old legal tool written into the U.S. Constitution called habeas corpus petitions. They're used to argue a person is being detained illegally.
Back in the late 1800s, this was the way in which our laws developed around immigration, detention, and the legality of deportation because people were filing habeas corpus. So it's interesting that it's having this resurgence in this moment.
But to file a habeas petition, attorneys need key information.
Naturally, you need to know where your person is. And this is a challenge often with ICE in particular because there is little transparency often.
Back at El Cubano to go, a bowl of whistles now sits on the front counter.
So not a lot of people knows what is this for. We call it community whistles.
Free for anyone who wants to sound an alarm if they see ICE making an arrest. She says the whistles are meant to buy families time, something she says Ivan never had.
I think it's not fair. This is not right. They didn't give us a chance. We got the money to pay the lawyer or for a bail if he qualified, but it didn't happen.
The increased shuffling of detainees is costing taxpayers money. Our sister station in Minneapolis found documents that showed ICE paid contractors $668 million just this year to shuffle people around. In the newsroom, sharing you King 5 News.
Well, a family dispute turned deadly in Puyallup. Police say a man opened fire shooting two women before a neighbor stepped in to stop him. Neighbors tell us they were his two daughters. One died, the other now in the hospital. Investigators say the violence started inside the home before spilling out into a neighbor's driveway. King 5's Alex McClune spoke with witnesses.
Two homes in Puyallup wrapped in crime tape after domestic violence between three family members turned deadly and spilled into a neighbor's driveway.
Oh man, it was hard. Really.
Roger Salvador lives next door to where the shooting happened. He says he heard shouting and saw the situation escalate from across the street.
It's just that, kids, they're shouting, they had a fight with the dad, then dad came after them, and we had to, I had to act and protect them. Yeah, he started shooting.
More neighbors watched police search for doorbell video. Puyallup police say it all started when three family members erupted into a fight that started inside, then crossed into the street and onto a neighbor's driveway. Investigators say a male family member shot two adult female family members with a handgun. The neighboring homeowner then intervened, shooting the male gunman, killing him. One of the women died, and the other woman was rushed to the hospital with serious injuries.
We have two residents that need to be processed for evidentiary purposes. We have several witnesses that we need to interview. We're interviewing a lot of witnesses that, as you could imagine, are quite distraught.
Under Washington law, use of force is allowed to protect yourself and others, but must be reasonable and necessary, and cannot use more force than needed.
Can you speak to the legality in this state?
Well, that's under investigation as to exactly how the circumstances took place.
Hours later, the shock hasn't gone away.
Still shaking, we can't go in, it's cold.
No arrests have been made. Police are interviewing the neighbor who opened fire in their driveway. In Puyallup, Alex McClune, King 5 News.
Well, people are still talking about the light show from last weekend when a fast-moving fireball lit up our skies. As King 5's Natalie Swaby reports, more meteor activity could be on the way.
More than 100 witnesses across Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia spotted the bright fireball. Here at University of Washington, a professor says events like this happen more often than you might think. On this campus,
astronomy is just such a beautiful thing.
The same force lighting up the night sky is now sparking excitement inside the astronomy department.
They are very common, but they're still really lovely when they happen.
Teaching professor Chris Laws is talking about what happened Saturday night. The American Meteor Society gathered eyewitness reports and released this video.
About 8:30 or so, a rock about the size of a softball, brought myself a little prop here, 10 centimeters or so, roughly speaking, across, so really small, hits the Earth's atmosphere, moving it probably somewhere in the area of 35 to 40,000 miles an hour. Very, very fast.
A fireball exploded into view 50 miles above Wilkeson in Pierce County, and NASA tracked it moving northwest for 43 miles before it broke apart.
And now you have lots of tiny little rocks moving probably closer to a few hundred miles an hour, but still causing enough energy in the atmosphere to make a nice bright light. But then it fades really quickly.
That wasn't the only one. Recent days brought another fireball over Ferndale, plus these images out of Oregon and California. Laws says April is prime time for cosmic activity.
There's a half dozen or so of these major, meaningful meteor showers. Meteor showers is how we refer to these things that happen during the year. This is all about the Earth sort of moving around the sun in its orbit, and as it moves around the sun in its orbit, it just runs into stuff. Other small little rocks that are floating around, like the one that blew up over Pierce County.
NASA says the appearance of bright meteors can increase by as much as 10 to 30% from February to April. In Seattle, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
NASA's Artemis 2 mission launched toward the moon this week. It's the first moon mission in more than 50 years, marking a major step in the plan to return humans to that surface. King 5 Sebastian Robertson stopped by a watch party at the Museum of Flight.
The
first crewed mission around the moon in more than 50 years, reason enough for many students to be pulled out of school early.
I'm going to see my first launch at all live, and I'm really excited since that they're going to be launching, and since they're going to go around the moon, this is going to be step one to them building a moon base.
The Museum of Flight hosting an official watch party for NASA's Artemis II mission, a major step toward eventually sending astronauts back to the lunar surface. Among those watching, a man who knows what it's like to leave Earth behind.
My mission to space was 3 days long, and it was just short enough to want several more days in space. But a 10-day mission, it's going to be, for this crew, it's going to feel like nothing.
Chris Zimbrowski, who now lives in Washington, served as a mission specialist on the Inspiration 4.
Space is that great final frontier. We go to space to solve problems here on Earth. And by going and exploring the moon, it's our next step to go to Mars and beyond.
A mission powered by Northwest Innovation. Boeing played a critical role in building the core stage of NASA's Space Launch System.
7, far as 25 inches. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition.
A successful launch, capturing the attention of the next generation of astronauts.
Well, thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed a look at the biggest stories of the week.